chosen one. The night feels different, doesn't it? The air carries a quiet charge. Like heaven itself is leaning closer. You sense it before words even form a stirring in your chest. A divine interruption breaking through your thoughts. This is not coincidence. It is not luck or chance. Heaven has orchestrated this exact moment to whisper one simple question. Can we talk tonight? You pose, unsure if you imagined it. But your spirit knows the difference between random noise and holy summons. The one who formed galaxies and numbered the stars is reaching for you personally, intentionally, tenderly. He's not demanding, not scolding, just waiting for a response. All he needs is your attention, your stillness, your yes. No, chosen one. This isn't just another night. This is a divine appointment. Heaven has something to say, and your spirit has been aching to hear it. You've carried questions that words couldn't express, prayers that never left your lips, and pain you learned to hide. But tonight, God doesn't come to expose your wounds. He comes to heal them. You've been walking through noise, confusion, and delay. You've been surrounded by voices that tried to define you, distract you, or drown you out. But here, in this sacred pause, only one voice matters, and it's the same voice that called your name before you were born. You were never random. You were written. Heaven has been watching you wrestle with weariness, seeing the silent battles behind your brave smile. Yet through every storm, your faith flickered but never went out. The enemy tried to break you, but he only exposed how strong your spirit really is. And now, heaven says, enough running, enough wondering. Sit with me. I have something to tell you. And, beloved, this is the kind of moment prophets dreamed of. This is where eternity bends close to time, and the King of Kings chooses a quiet heart to speak to. You are that heart tonight. The world doesn't understand the tears you've cried, but heaven does. You are seen, you are known, you are chosen, and in this choosing, heaven marks you. Every angel that watches over you rejoices quietly, for they know this is not just a night of words, it is a night of alignment. The divine blueprint of your purpose is unfolding, and your soul begins to remember what it was made for. You feel the weight of divine love resting on your shoulders like a mantle. It does not crush you, it crowns you. Every fear begins to melt beneath the warmth of his gaze. Heaven does not see your failures, it sees your future, and it is radiant with the light of his promise. And as this truth sinks deep into your spirit, remember what was once proclaimed long ago, as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Those words are not ancient, they are alive right now. They are for you. You've been carrying too much, for too long, trying to hold everything together in your own strength. But the one who calls you tonight offers peace that the world can't counterfeit and burdens that lift instead of crush. He's saying, lay it down, all of it. Let me breathe rest into your tired soul. End quote. Chosen one. Heaven doesn't seek perfection. Heaven seeks presence. God isn't asking you to fix yourself before coming close. He's asking you to draw near so he can do the fixing. Every moment you've thought he was silent, he was actually waiting for this very yes from you. So listen carefully now. The darkness isn't your enemy tonight. It's the backdrop for revelation. Heaven moves best in the stillness between your heartbeats. If you will pause and listen, you'll feel His nearness like fire and peace all at once. This is not a random video. This is a doorway. Heaven has paused the scroll of your life and said, "Now, because you were meant to hear this at this exact time." There are no accidents in the language of the Spirit. So, if this message finds your soul, and you know this is your moment, respond with faith. Type 777 inches, the comments, as a prophetic act, your digital Amen. Your Lord, I'm here. Then, if this word resonates deep within you, like it, share it, and subscribe, so the flow of these divine whispers never stops reaching you. Because tonight, heaven has chosen conversation over silence. The Creator of all things leans close and asks again, with the gentleness of eternal love, "Can we talk tonight?" The night deepens, and yet your heart will not rest. There is a pull inside you that feels both terrifying and tender, like being called by name through the wind. The world outside is silent, but within you, something sacred begins to stir. You realize now this is not just emotion. This is encounter. You sit there in the dim glow, feeling the weight of invisible eyes upon you. Heaven watches in reverent stillness, waiting for your response. God is not rushing you. He is not forcing you. He is simply present. His presence fills the room without noise or spectacle. It is like light finding the corners of darkness, like a whisper finding the heart that's ready to listen. Chosen one. This is what divine interruption feels like. Heaven pauses, time for you. Not because you are flawless, but because you are favored. You have carried questions too deep for conversation, yet the Lord already holds the answers. He doesn't come tonight with rebuke, but with revelation. He says, "Be still. I am near." No, you've spent days surviving and nights overthinking, wondering if your prayers ever reached the sky. But heaven heard every one of them. The silence you mistook for absence was actually strategy. God does not rush what He intends to perfect. Every unanswered question, every delay, every heartbreak, it all became part of a divine pattern, shaping a heart that would one day be able to hear Him this clearly. You've been waiting for Him to speak, but He's been waiting for you to stop running. The conversation He started tonight is not new. It's the continuation of one He began long ago, back when you still believed without fear, back when faith came naturally, before the disappointments hardened your hope. And now, He is calling that childlike trust back to life. Do you feel it? That stillness wrapping around you like a promise. It is not loneliness, it is preparation. The kind of quiet that falls before a miracle. Heaven is positioning you for the next word, the next revelation, the next chapter of purpose. You are being drawn into the divine pause, the moment between what was and what will be. The Spirit whispers gently, "Stop trying to fill the silence with noise." God is not found in chaos. He hides Himself in the stillness, so that only those who truly desire Him will find Him. You are one of those few. That is why this moment feels different. It is holy ground. You don't need to perform. You don't need to prove anything. Just sit. Just breathe. Just be here. In this sacred stillness where heaven bends low to meet humanity, you have nothing to offer that He doesn't already know. And yet He delights in your willingness to show up. That willingness alone is worship. And so, heaven speaks again, not with thunder, not with earthquakes, but with a voice that feels like warmth in your soul. It says, "I've been waiting for you." Endure. You bow your head without even realizing it. The tears come not out of pain, but recognition. Every moment of loneliness suddenly makes sense. Every silence has been leading you to this meeting. God never abandoned you. He was teaching you to listen in a world that shouts too loud. The divine pause is a love language. It slows you down until your heart aligns with His heartbeat. And in that rhythm, revelation flows. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 46, verse 10. "Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." That verse is the essence of this night. Stillness is not emptiness, it is awareness. It is the moment you realize that heaven doesn't require effort, only openness. You've been trying to earn peace by doing more. But peace is found by surrendering sooner. Chosen one, God is showing you how sacred slowness is. The world equates stillness with stagnation, but heaven calls it strategy. Before every breakthrough, there is a divine pause. Before every answered prayer, there is an invitation to rest. The silence you've feared is actually a signal that heaven is near. And as you sit quietly now, you begin to sense movement, not outside you, but within. The Spirit begins to rearrange things in your heart. Regrets are being rewritten. Fears are being unrooted. Hope is being rekindled. What felt like delay was actually design. You are learning a language that cannot be spoken aloud, the language of stillness, where hearts speak to heaven without sound. You will leave this moment different from how you entered it. Not because something dramatic happened, but because you finally made space for God to move. This is the divine pause. Chosen one. This is where transformation begins. The world rushes, but heaven waits. And tonight, heaven waited for you. The silence lingers from the night before, but something inside you has shifted. You wake up feeling different, not lighter, not louder, but aware. The conversation that started in whispers still echoes softly in your heart. It's as if heaven has marked you with a quiet knowing. God is not finished speaking. You go about your day, yet everything feels subtly rearranged. The same streets, the same faces, the same routines, but your spirit senses a new layer beneath it all. You are beginning to recognize how God hides His voice in the ordinary. The divine does not always arrive wrapped in lightning and thunder. Sometimes it comes as a thought that will not leave, a feeling that keeps pulling you home. Chosen one, this is the weight of awareness. Once you have heard His whisper, you cannot unhear it. Once you have felt His presence, you cannot return to pretending you didn't. Heaven's fingerprints are everywhere now, in your conversations, in your memories, even in your pain. God is teaching you to listen between the moments. You see, hearing God isn't about noise, it's about nearness. And the nearness you feel now is not imagination, it's intimacy. Heaven has begun to move through your spirit like wind through an open field. You are learning to yield, to stop striving for signs, and to start trusting the stillness. But this awareness also awakens something dangerous: resistance. The enemy always tries to interrupt revelation. The moment you draw closer to God, distractions multiply. Old fears begin to whisper again. Old habits call your name. And doubt knocks on the same door. Faith just opened. The darkness doesn't fear your silence, it fears your surrender. So listen carefully. You are being tested, not in power, but in patience. The measure of your maturity is not how loud you can shout in faith, but how quietly you can trust when heaven is silent. Because faith that survives silence is the kind that moves mountains. And here is the truth. Beloved, you were never meant to navigate this in your own strength. Heaven has assigned angels to guard this process. Every tear you cried became an instruction to them. Protect that one. They are marked. Your battle has never been fought alone. It has only felt that way because divine warfare is invisible to human eyes. There are moments when you wonder, why me? Why does the path of the chosen feel lonelier, heavier, harder? Because chosen ones are forged differently. You are not being punished, you are being purified. God is not ignoring you, He is investing in you. Every delay is discipline. Every silence, a sculptor's touch, shaping the vessel that will one day carry glory. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." End quote. Those words are not poetry, they are prophecy. The pain you feel right now is not pointless, it's producing something eternal inside you. Glory is being grown in secret. Heaven plants greatness in hidden soil. And tonight, you are that soil. Chosen one. Don't let the pressure convince you that God has abandoned you. The pressure is proof that heaven is preparing you for promotion. Every battle you've endured has built strength you will soon need. You are standing on the edge of divine manifestation. Don't mistake the waiting room for the grave. And now, as you breathe in this truth, something inside you awakens again. You realize that this whole journey, every silence, every whisper, every pause has been heaven teaching you one simple lesson. You are never alone. Even when you felt forgotten, you were being refined. Even when you felt lost, you were being led. The Spirit presses upon your heart now with a gentle call to action, not a shout, but a holy invitation. Comment, "I'm listening." Say it not as a ritual, but as a declaration. When you write those two words, you are telling heaven, "I'm available. I choose to hear again." It's not about a digital comment, it's about spiritual posture. You are opening your ears, aligning your soul, and marking this moment as sacred ground, because this is not just another scroll through content. This is your reminder that heaven is speaking and you are finally responding. Every time you choose to listen, you disarm the enemy's distractions. Every time you answer, you strengthen your connection with divine purpose. So whisper it again, "I'm listening." Let those words echo beyond this screen, beyond this night, into every part of your life. Because the one who began the conversation will finish what he started. The God who asked, "Can we talk tonight?" is still speaking today, and you, chosen one, are still the one he calls. You move through the next day with a strange quietness inside you. The noise of life continues, the chatter, the deadlines, the endless scroll, but something deep within has shifted. You are watching, listening, feeling in ways you never did before. It's as though heaven has opened a new frequency, and only your spirit can hear it. This is what happens. Chosen one. When the divine pauses over a life, it tunes you to higher clarity. You begin to sense the difference between what is urgent and what is eternal. You start realizing that not every voice deserves your attention, and not every invitation deserves your presence. God is teaching you the art of discernment. Discernment is not suspicion, it's sensitivity. It is the ability to sense what is unseen, to hear what is not spoken. It is heaven's defense system, built into those who walk closely with the Spirit. You've felt it before, the unease that warned you not to go somewhere, the peace that surrounded you when logic said no, yet faith said go. That wasn't coincidence. That was God guiding you in silence. For so long, you believed God's absence was punishment, but now you begin to see it differently. His silence was strategy. He wasn't withholding answers, he was training your ears. When you were desperate for signs, he was teaching you to follow signals. You didn't realize it, but every unanswered prayer was tuning your spirit toward maturity. You see, chosen one, heaven does not rush transformation. The process of becoming requires waiting, trusting, and enduring. It is in those hidden seasons that God forms the substance of greatness. You cannot carry divine fire without learning how to hold divine weight. And so, in His mercy, He slowed you down. He placed you in pauses that preserved you. There were moments when you thought life had left you behind, when doors closed, people walked away, and opportunities dried up. Yet what felt like rejection was actually redirection. The world's no made room for heaven's yes. The waiting you despised was the womb of destiny. God was not delaying you, He was developing you. And now, you're beginning to see the evidence. The same places that once made you anxious now bring you peace. The same situations that used to shake you now leave you calm. That is growth. That is grace. Heaven has been sculpting your soul into a vessel that can carry weight without cracking. You remember the times you cried out, "Lord, where are you?" and felt nothing. But now, when you look back, you see His fingerprints all over the story. The conversation you were desperate to have was happening in a different language, the language of circumstance, timing, and stillness. You were never ignored. You were being instructed. Heaven's lessons often come wrapped in mystery, and mystery is not meant to confuse you. It's meant to mature you. The more you walk with God, the more you realize He hides Himself not to be distant, but to draw you deeper. The silence wasn't abandonment, it was invitation. You're learning, slowly but surely, that spiritual maturity is not about hearing God constantly, but trusting Him completely. It's not about collecting miracles, it's about carrying peace. That peace you now feel, even in uncertainty, that's the evidence of transformation. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." Those words are a lifeline for the one who is learning to walk in divine timing. You are no longer driven by your own plans, but led by His peace. The path may not always make sense, but obedience is never wasted. The unseen hand that guided you before is still guiding you now. So, chosen one, rest in this truth. God does not rush what He intends to last. The delay is not a denial, but a design. Every closed door was a protection. Every quiet night a preparation. You were not forgotten, you were fortified. Heaven was writing strength into your spirit when you thought nothing was happening. Now, when you stand in the stillness, you don't hear emptiness anymore. You hear alignment. You understand that every pause carries purpose. Every silence holds instruction. You no longer chase signs because you have become one. Your very life is a message that heaven is near. And as you breathe tonight, know this: the same God who waited for you in the dark is walking beside you in the light. His pace is perfect. His timing flawless. You are right where you are meant to be, not behind. Not ahead exactly, aligned with divine rhythm. This is what it means to live in the divine pause, to trust that heaven is never late, and silence is never empty. You, chosen one, are being shaped for something eternal, and the one who began the conversation in the stillness will soon speak again. Louder, clearer, stronger when your heart is ready to receive it. The night returns once more, and this time it carries a softness you can feel in your bones. The world outside is still restless, cars move, screens glow, hearts rush, but inside you, a hush settles. You realize that the silence no longer frightens you, it feeds you. It is not emptiness anymore, it's presence. You are beginning to recognize that God's voice is not always thunder. Sometimes it is rain. You sit there again, aware that heaven has not stopped speaking. Each breath feels like an answer. Each heartbeat like a whisper of something holy. The conversation continues, not in words, but in awareness. You have learned that God speaks through everything. The pause between thoughts, the wind brushing against your window, even the weight of your own sigh. Chosen one, heaven often hides its greatest truths in ordinary things. It speaks in shadows and symbols, in quiet images that awaken deeper understanding. Think of your life as a field, every seed planted through faith, every tear like rain, every waiting season, a quiet winter preparing for bloom. Nothing you've gone through is wasted. Every struggle became soil. Every heartbreak softened the ground for grace to grow. And now, something sacred begins to blossom inside you. You can feel it, a quiet renewal, a return of joy. Not loud or wild, but steady, pure, radiant. Heaven is breathing over your soul again. And where there once was confusion, now there is clarity. Where there was heaviness, now there is hope. You remember all those nights when you asked God for signs. You wanted lightning. But he sent light. You wanted proof. But he sent peace. Because peace is a greater miracle than power, it means you finally trust the one who writes your story. The Spirit begins to speak again, not in command, but in compassion. You are safe now. You have survived the storm. It is time to grow. Now, and as those words echo in your heart, something unfolds, a realization that this conversation isn't just for you. What God is pouring into you is meant to overflow into others. You are not a reservoir, you are a river. What heaven gives you is meant to move through you. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 34, verse 5. Those who look to him are radiant, their faces are never covered with shame. Beloved, that radiance is your calling card. It is not just a feeling, it's a mission. You have been entrusted with light, and the world around you is starving for it. There are people whose faith depends on your courage to shine. And now, chosen one, Let's talk heart to heart. This message, this space, this sacred flow that reaches you night after night, it's not just words, it's a bridge between souls. Each moment you spend here keeps that bridge alive. When you like, you acknowledge the truth you've heard. When you share, you carry the message into someone else's midnight. And when you subscribe, you build a pathway for these divine whispers to keep finding you when you need them most. And if your heart feels moved, if you sense that what you receive here feeds your soul, consider sowing back into the light. Every act of support, every offering, becomes another flame that keeps this sacred space burning. Like a candle lighting another, your generosity becomes the oil that keeps this fire alive. You are not giving to a person, you are giving to a purpose. You are helping these words find the broken, the weary, the ones who scroll in silence, hoping for a sign that heaven still sees them. Your light, combined with others, keeps that sign glowing across the world. So as you sit here, let gratitude rise, not forced, but honest. Whisper a prayer of thanks for what God has begun in you, and as that gratitude expands, let it move through your actions by sharing, by connecting, by giving, by staying close to this flow of divine encouragement. Every click becomes a ripple of faith. Every act a testimony that you believe in, the light still spreading through the dark, because this is not entertainment. This is ministry. This is a movement of hearts returning to heaven's rhythm. And you, chosen one, are part of it. Heaven sees you tonight, the listener, the believer, the giver, the one who dares to keep hope alive. You are the reason this message continues to flow. And as long as you keep your heart open, heaven will keep pouring. So, sit in this peace a little longer. Feel the warmth of divine nearness around you. The conversation continues, and so does the light you carry. You are no longer just receiving the message. You are the message. The night sky stretches endless above you, quiet, vast, and full of mystery. You find yourself beneath it once again, not by coincidence, but by calling. Heaven has not forgotten the one it whispered to. The conversation continues, not in words, now, but in awareness. You can feel the nearness of God more vividly than before. It's not about sound anymore, it's about presence. Your heart beats slower tonight. More deliberate. You sense that something sacred is approaching a revelation. Gentle but strong, waiting to unfold. The Spirit is not done speaking. Because you are not done becoming, heaven is still sculpting you through silence, through surrender, through this steady rhythm of divine conversation. Chosen one. Tonight is not about answers, it's about awakening. There are things heaven can only reveal when your spirit becomes still enough to notice the whispers inside the waiting. You have been asking for signs, but tonight, heaven holds up a mirror instead. God wants you to see what he sees when he looks at you. You sit there quietly, your thoughts circling like doves trying to find rest. And slowly, you feel it, the shift. The divine mirror turns, and in it, you begin to see yourself not as the world labeled you, but as heaven designed you. You see strength wrapped in gentleness, courage buried beneath old wounds, light flickering through the cracks of your heart. You realize you've been harder on yourself than heaven ever was. Heaven is not pointing out your flaws, it's revealing your reflection. The one who made you doesn't focus on the dirt from the journey, but on the diamond beneath it. Every scar you carry shines like proof that darkness never won. Every tear you shed has become oil for your anointing. As the prophet Jeremiah once wrote under divine inspiration in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 18, verse 6, like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand. That single verse holds the weight of your story. You are clay in divine hands. Every twist, every press, every pause is not destruction, it is design. The potter is not punishing you, he is perfecting you. And even when you cannot see the shape he's forming, you can trust that his hands never leave the clay. Chosen one, heaven wants you to release the guilt you've been carrying, the what-ifs, the should-haves, the endless replay of moments you wish you could change. They are heavy because they were never meant to be held. You cannot carry your past and your purpose at the same time. It's time to let grace take the weight. And as you do, something begins to shift again inside you. The reflection you see in heaven's mirror becomes clearer, brighter. You no longer see someone trying to earn love. You see someone loved already. You are not chasing worth. You are standing in it. You are not searching for purpose. You are living it. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, you became more like him. Every time you prayed instead of giving up, heaven took note. You are not unseen. You are not unnoticed. The potter remembers every detail of your design. This is why tonight's call is sacred. Heaven is asking you to step out of shame and into alignment. You are not defined by your past. You are refined by it. The same hands that shape the stars are shaping your destiny right now. And as you read these words, the Spirit gently prompts your heart to respond, not out of ritual, but as a prophetic act of agreement. Type the number 888 inches, the comments below. That number, chosen one, symbolizes new beginnings and divine alignment. It is your way of saying, I trust the potter. I yield to the process. And when you type it, don't rush. Let it mean something. Let it be your surrender, your silent yes to what heaven is doing inside you. Because what you affirm in faith tonight will echo in your future. Heaven watches for agreement, and your agreement unlocks acceleration. You are not behind. You are right on time. Every delay was deliberate. Every silence was sacred. The potter's hands have never left you, not for a second. So as the night deepens and your spirit rests, let this truth be carved into your heart. You are still in his hands, and his hands never fail. What he began, he will finish. What he formed, he will fill. And when morning comes, the world will see what heaven already knows. You are not a fragment of who you were. You are the masterpiece that was forming in the dark all along. The night after revelation often feels like calm after rain. The storm doesn't roar anymore. Yet everything around you glistens, transformed by what just passed. You feel it in your chest, this mixture of peace and power, the quiet strength of one who has been refined in divine fire. Heaven's voice still lingers, not as a whisper now, but as a steady hum beneath every thought. Chosen one, this is the aftermath of divine encounter. It's not the loud moments that change you the most. It's the still ones. The ones where you finally stop resisting and start receiving. God doesn't always move in explosions. Sometimes he moves in exhalations. The breath of heaven can rebuild what the winds of the world tried to tear apart. You look at your life differently now. The wounds that once made you feel weak have become windows where the light shines through, you see how every delay, every detour, every heartbreak was never wasted. They were lessons written in pain, preparing you for power. Heaven's strategy is subtle. It hides strength inside struggle so that only the faithful will find it. There were moments when you thought you were losing everything, but now you see you were only being stripped of what was limiting you. The pruning was not punishment, it was preparation. What was taken was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to make space for what is holy. And now, the Spirit opens your eyes to see the battle you never noticed. The warfare wasn't always around you, it was within you. The struggle between flesh and faith, doubt and destiny, fear and forward motion. Every time you chose peace, you won a war unseen. Every time you refused bitterness, angels celebrated quietly. The truth is, darkness recognized your potential long before you did. That's why the battles came so early, so fierce. The enemy saw what you were carrying and tried to kill it before it grew. But heaven shielded you in silence, covered you in confusion, and protected you in the disguise of delay. While you thought you were forgotten, you were actually being fortified. And through it all, heaven has kept score, not of your failures, but of your faithfulness. Every small act of trust, every whispered prayer in the dark, every tear that said, "I still believe," they are all stored like treasures in the heart of God. You are not the same person who once doubted your strength. You are wiser now, quieter, sharper, steadier. Heaven reminds you tonight that growth is not loud. It happens beneath the surface, in the hidden spaces where no one applauds, but God watches closely. Your roots have gone deep, even when nothing seemed to bloom above ground. The hidden years were holy years. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. End of T. Those words are more than comfort, they are a revelation. You were never meant to win by striving, but by surrendering. God doesn't need your exhaustion, He needs your permission. He doesn't require your panic, He asks for your peace. The battles that once terrified you are now reminders that heaven never stopped defending you. Chosen one, look back over your story and see the pattern of divine protection. You didn't just survive, you were shielded. Every closed door was a sword turned aside. Every person who left was a snare removed. The disappointments you cursed in the moment were blessings disguised as loss. And now, you are standing in the aftermath of everything that was meant to break you, and you are still whole. That is victory. That is proof. You have become the testimony you once prayed for. Tonight, heaven wants you to rest in that realization. You no longer need to fight battles that are already finished. The victory is not ahead of you, it is within you. Peace is not something to reach for, it's something to return to. So breathe deeply now. Let your shoulders fall. Let the weight of striving slip away. You are being carried, not crushed. You are being guided, not forgotten. The same God who parted seas for Israel has been parting unseen waters for you. And as you sit in the quiet once more, remember, the storm was never the end. It was the sound of your becoming. The warfare you endured was the forge that shaped your faith. You are the vessel that held together under pressure, the clay that didn't crack in the hands of the potter. The night grows still again. The stars blink above, and heaven watches a story unfold that hell could not cancel. The battle you never saw is the victory you now live in. And though the world sleeps unaware, the angels know God's chosen one has learned to rest even while the fight rages. The night air feels lighter than before. There is a stillness that does not demand explanation, a peace that no circumstance can threaten. You find yourself reflecting quietly, sensing that heaven has shifted something within you, subtly, permanently. It is as though a new rhythm has begun pulsing through your spirit, one aligned not with fear, but with faith. You realize now that not all healing comes through miracles. Sometimes it comes through understanding. It comes when the heart finally accepts that the pain was never pointless. Every tear was instruction. Every ache was an altar where something within you was refined. Healing, you discover, is not always sudden. Sometimes it is slow, holy, and quiet like dawn, breaking after a long night. Chosen one, you are beginning to recognize the divine architecture of your own journey. The things that once felt random now form patterns. The chaos that once frightened you now makes sense in retrospect. God was not absent in your confusion, He was hidden in your construction. The scaffolding of delay was building a foundation deep enough to sustain what is coming next. You see now how mercy moved through time like invisible hands, keeping you from what you thought you wanted, because heaven knew it would have destroyed your peace. Every detour was a doorway, every pause a form of protection. The story you once resented is becoming the story you will one day thank God for. There's something sacred about hindsight. It reveals how divine love disguises itself as limitation. What you thought was rejection was actually redirection. What you believed was failure was a divine reroute, saving you from paths that could not hold your destiny. Heaven never lost track of you. You were never outside the blueprint. The Spirit whispers tonight, look how far you've come. Indos, and when you look, you see not a straight path, but a divine mosaic, broken pieces arranged into beauty. You see the days you almost gave up, the nights you wept in silence, the prayers that felt unanswered, yet somehow you're still here, softer but stronger. Kitebut, deeper. That is grace. That is proof that heaven's hand never left you. And so, healing continues, not through striving, but through surrender. You do not need to fix yourself. You need only to stay open. Healing is what happens when you stop running from the places that hurt and allow God to meet you there. The parts you hide are the parts He most longs to touch. You feel a gentle awareness rise within you. Maybe the goal was never perfection, but presence. Maybe holiness is not about being flawless, but about being honest. Heaven has no interest in polished masks. It moves through vulnerability. The moment you say, "Here I am," even with my cracks, the light finds you again. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 12, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. That verse becomes alive inside you. It isn't just about eternity, it's about now. The light of life isn't somewhere distant, it burns quietly inside you. Every time you choose forgiveness, every time you show kindness, every time you trust, instead of panic, that light expands. You are not chasing illumination, you are carrying it. Chosen one. Your healing is not incomplete because you still feel. Feeling is proof that your heart still beats, still believes, still loves. The tender spots within you are reminders that you've survived without losing softness. The world will tell you to harden, but heaven says, stay tender. The light shines best through hearts that remain open. You may still have questions, but questions are sacred too. God is not intimidated by them. The very act of asking means you are still reaching toward Him. Faith is not the absence of doubt, it's the decision to keep walking, even when your vision is blurred. So tonight, do not rush your restoration. Healing is not a deadline, it's a dialogue. Every breath, every prayer, every quiet surrender is a continuation of that dialogue between heaven and your soul. You are not behind. You are becoming. You are not waiting for light to find you. You are realizing it never left. As you rest under the calm sky, remember that what God begins in stillness, He completes in strength. You do not need to understand the process to trust the potter. The same hands that shaped galaxies are shaping the contours of your peace. And when morning comes, the world will not notice the difference immediately, but heaven will. Because something in your spirit will glow differently. The light of life will not just be around you, it will be you. Morning light spills across your room like a quiet benediction. It touches the corners, the shelves, the places where your tears once fell, and for a moment, everything feels new. You realize you are breathing easier now. The weight you carried for so long has lifted, not because the circumstances changed, but because you did. The conversation that began in darkness has carried you into dawn. There's a subtle strength rising within you, a confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. You understand now that the miracle was never about escaping the fire, but enduring it without losing your song. The same flames that tried to consume you refined you instead. What burned away was never meant to stay. Chosen one. Heaven celebrates quiet victories. The world sees outcomes, but God sees endurance. He counts the nights you stayed when everything inside you wanted to run. He remembers the prayers you whispered when words felt heavy. Heaven measures faith not by volume, but by persistence. And your persistence has become praise. You've learned to stand still in storms, to let peace be your posture. That is spiritual maturity, the ability to remain steady when everything else shakes. You no longer demand answers from God. You trust His timing. You no longer chase signs. You follow His peace. What once frightened you now feels familiar because you know who walks beside you. There were moments when you thought, maybe I've missed it. Maybe I'm too late. But heaven never rushes what it refines. You cannot miss what was written for you. Every step, even the missteps, have led you exactly where you are meant to be. The detours didn't destroy your destiny, they defined it. The Spirit speaks gently. You are still on schedule. Those words sink deep. Healing timelines you thought were broken. You remember how many times you compared your progress to others, forgetting that destiny is not a race, it's a rhythm. And now you understand. You were never behind. You were being prepared. As the Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. You are walking proof that grace rewrites endings. The things that were meant to end you became the evidence that God is still faithful. The pain that once silenced you now gives your words power. You carry revelation born from experience, not theory. You've lived what others only read. Now, As the Spirit of God moves quietly within you, there is a gentle nudge, a reminder that this moment requires acknowledgement. Heaven has done too much to remain unspoken, so let your response be an act of agreement, a digital echo of the truth rising in your heart. Comment, "I believe." Say it not for the algorithm, but for your alignment. Those two words are more than affirmation, they are declaration. When you type, "I believe," you're not pretending that everything is perfect. You're proclaiming that you trust the process. You're saying, "Even when I don't see it, I know it's working." Heaven hears faith, even when it's typed in silence. And as you write it, something happens. The atmosphere shifts again, not outside you, but within, because faith spoken becomes faith strengthened. Every time you declare belief, you remind your spirit that the God who began this conversation hasn't finished speaking. You reinforce the bridge between heaven's promise and your reality. You are standing in the middle of fulfillment and faith, watching the two draw closer. The waiting no longer feels like punishment, it feels like partnership. You are learning to walk with God in real time, trusting that even detours carry divine direction. The dawn that fills your room is more than sunlight, it's a sign. It whispers that every long night eventually breaks into morning. You survived what tried to silence you. And now your voice carries the sound of resurrection. Chosen one, breathe that in. You are not the same person who began this journey. You have grown roots in places others thought you'd collapse. You have built faith where fear once lived. Heaven looks at you and calls you victorious, not because the battle is over, but because you never stopped believing. Let the light fill your spirit. Let those words, "I believe," echo through your day. They are not small words. They are keys unlocking the next chapter. And as heaven listens, it smiles, knowing that the one who once doubted now stands unshaken in faith. The day fades slowly, and you find yourself watching the sunset in quiet awe. The sky becomes a painter's canvas strokes of amber, violet, and gold melting into one another. It feels prophetic. This moment where light meets shadow, where endings look suspiciously like beginnings. You realize that life, like the sunset, is a divine exchange. What disappears always makes room for something new. Chosen one, this is how heaven teaches, not through lectures, but through landscapes, not through commands, but through creation. Every sunset is a sermon. Every sunrise, a promise. God hides lessons in plain sight, and only the listening heart catches them. Tonight, He's teaching you about continuity, that even after fire fades, warmth remains. You are beginning to live differently now. You move with more purpose, speak with more grace, and see through the eyes of one who knows that every moment can carry meaning. The old fears no longer own you. The shadows that used to intimidate you have become proof that light is nearby. You are learning to walk as one who has been remade by mercy. When you look back, you realize something sacred. The same God who whispered in the darkness is the one who now paints the horizon in color. His faithfulness has never changed, only your awareness of it has. You used to see life as a series of random events, but now you recognize it as one continuous love letter written by divine hands. Heaven is calling you to see this journey not as a series of lessons to survive, but as a story to share, because testimony, when spoken with humility, becomes medicine for others. You are no longer meant to hold all of this light inside you. It's time to let it travel. When light travels, it multiplies. We find in the book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 15, "Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky, as you hold firmly to the word of life." That is what your life has become, a star in someone else's night. A light that doesn't demand attention but gives direction. And just like stars are invisible in the day but constant in the dark, so is your faith. When others can't see, your endurance becomes their map. Chosen one. That is why this space exists, these words, this connection, this divine thread linking hearts across distance. Every time you pause to listen, heaven moves through this conversation, reaching those who feel unseen. What flows here is not just language, it's light being shared from one vessel to another. So when I ask you now, with all sincerity, like, share, subscribe, and so, understand this. It's not for numbers, it's for nourishment. Every act of engagement is another spark of light pushing back the dark. Each click carries the message further, helping it find the broken, the searching, the ones who scroll in silence, hoping that God still remembers them. And if your heart has been stirred by these moments, if you found peace here, or tears that healed instead of hurt, consider giving back, not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. When you donate, you are not funding words, you are fueling transformation. You become part of a divine cycle. Heaven pours into you, and through your generosity, heaven pours into others. Think of it like tending a fire in the cold. Each time someone gives, they add wood to the flame, so it doesn't go out for those still finding their way home. Your kindness becomes heat for someone else's heart. That is the beauty of shared light. It multiplies without losing brilliance. So as you watch this digital sunset fade into night, and understand that what we're building together is not just content, it's a cathedral of connection. Every message, every share, every offering builds another stone into something eternal. Heaven keeps record of such moments, because heaven treasures hearts that give with love. The offering that leaves your hand never leaves your life. It circles back in peace, provision, and unexpected favor. Chosen one. Never underestimate the power of your participation. Your presence here is purpose in motion. The same spirit that once called you in silence is now calling you to sustain what has called you. Let gratitude be your language, and generosity your worship. You are not supporting a voice, you are sustaining a movement of light. And as long as you keep that light alive, heaven will keep expanding it through you. So, sit for a moment longer, under the colors of this evening. Feel the peace in your chest, the warmth in your hands, the steady hum of purpose in your soul. You are part of something holy, something that began in whispers and now ripples through countless hearts. The sunset fades, but the message remains. The light you honor will never leave you in darkness. Night returns, soft and deliberate. It no longer feels heavy, no longer carries the chill of uncertainty. Instead, it feels like a sanctuary, a quiet cathedral where your heart and heaven can meet without interruption. You've walked through fire, silence, and surrender, and now something inside you has settled. This is the stillness that comes after transformation, the peace of one who finally understands what it means to trust. Chosen one. Peace isn't the absence of trouble. It's the presence of God in the middle of it. You've learned that storms don't stop being storms just because you believe they simply lose their power to shake you. Faith has become your foundation. The waves still crash, but they no longer carry you away. You are anchored now, held fast by the same grace that once found you, trembling in the dark. The world around you moves fast, rushing, grasping, worrying, but you move differently. You are no longer running to prove your worth. You are walking to live your purpose. Heaven's rhythm has become your own, and it beats steady, unhurried, strong. Everywhere you go, you sense something holy following you. The conversations you have, the people you meet, even the interruptions, all of it feels divinely orchestrated. It's as if heaven keeps weaving small threads through your days, tying reminders of its presence to every hour. You no longer separate the sacred from the ordinary, because you've discovered that God is in both. This awareness changes everything. You begin to treat life as worship, not just prayer, but presence, not just singing, but seeing. You find God in laughter, in kindness, in forgiveness, in stillness. You see Him in the eyes of strangers, in the wind that brushes your face, in the quiet ways love refuses to give up. It dawns on you that heaven's greatest miracles often happen without spectacle. The loudest work God ever does is in silence. You are living proof of that truth. The transformation in your heart didn't happen through thunder, but through whisper. It was not force that changed you, but gentleness. You think back to how many times you begged God to move mountains, and now you realize He was teaching you to climb them instead. Strength was not given to avoid struggle, but to outlast it. What once scared you now serves you. You've learned how to turn battles into building blocks, how to see lessons in loss, how to find blessing in what was once broken, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." That truth lives in you now. You've stopped resenting weakness and started revering it, because where you end, God begins. Every place that once felt empty is where glory now resides. Every part of you that once broke became a channel for His power to flow. This realization humbles you. You no longer see yourself as the hero of your story, but as the vessel of one far greater. You don't need recognition to feel seen or validation to feel valuable. You understand now that divine purpose doesn't always look glamorous. It looks consistent. It's found in showing up when no one's watching, loving when no one returns it, forgiving when no one apologizes. You realize that this is what real faith feels like, not firework emotion. But qui est? Conviction. It's steady. It's sure. It's silent, but unstoppable. It doesn't need to prove itself. It simply persists. Chosen one. You are living in that kind of faith now. Heaven is no longer something you reach for. It's something you carry. You've become a walking temple, a heart tuned to eternity, a life that testifies without words. And though the world may never understand it, you know that something divine moves through you. You feel it in the way you speak, life instead of despair, in the way peace radiates from you like morning light. You are no longer just a receiver of grace, you've become its reflection. So as you rest tonight, let this awareness sink deep. God is no longer just near you, He is within you. Every breath you take carries his rhythm. Every thought that chooses love over fear is heaven expressing itself through you. You are not waiting for glory, you are walking in it. You are not chasing peace, you are embodying it. And the same voice that once called you in the dark now calls others through the light you carry. This is what it means to be chosen, not to be elevated above others, but to be emptied enough for heaven to fill. The days begin to blend softly now, night into dawn, struggle into strength, prayer into peace. You are no longer chasing signs, you are walking in synchronicity. Everywhere you turn, something small and sacred seems to confirm what heaven has been whispering. You are on the right path. The divine conversation hasn't ended, it has become your atmosphere. You begin to notice things you once missed. The sudden calm in moments of chaos. The way your spirit now recognizes danger before it arrives. The unexpected peace that follows every surrender. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Heaven has adjusted your spiritual frequency, and now you pick up signals that once went unnoticed. Chosen one. Your discernment has grown sharper, not through study, but through surrender. You've learned that wisdom doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it feels like a quiet nudge that says, "Wait." You've stopped rushing ahead and started walking beside. That is the mark of spiritual maturity, the ability to move in rhythm with heaven rather than racing against it. And yet, even in this peace, heaven begins to stir something new inside you. You feel it, a fire that doesn't burn painfully, but purely, a hunger that isn't desperation. But, direction. The stillness that healed you is now transforming into movement. God is calling you to rise, not because you're empty, but because you're ready. The Spirit whispers gently, "What I healed in private, I will now reveal in purpose." Lesson. You realize that your pain has become your platform. Your scars have become scripture, living testimonies that tell stories words cannot capture. Heaven wastes nothing. Even your wounds have meaning. The world may see weakness, but God sees witness. You are no longer defined by what happened to you, but by what heaven did through you. You recall the nights when you wept for answers, only to discover later that the silence itself was the answer. God wasn't ignoring you. He was incubating something greater. And now, that greater begins to take shape, not in grand gestures, but in gentle clarity. You are stepping into a season where your identity aligns with your assignment. The Spirit is preparing you for manifestation. But before it begins, He asks you to remember this truth. Your obedience is more powerful than your ambition. You don't have to chase opportunity, you have to carry light. When light moves, doors open by design. According to what is revealed in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 8, "The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged." Those words are your anchor for this new beginning. You don't have to fear what comes next, because heaven is already there. God doesn't send you ahead, He walks before you. The road you are about to walk has already been cleared by unseen hands. Chosen one. Your faith is no longer fragile, it's fortified. The one who once trembled now carries tranquility. You are stepping into a chapter where peace will be your strategy and grace your armor. The same God who healed your heart is about to expand your territory. But first, heaven asks for something sacred, your declaration of agreement. This is not a ritual, it is resonance. When heaven speaks and you respond, power multiplies. The same way the prophet said, "Let the weak say, I am strong." Tonight, you are invited to echo heaven's number of divine completeness. Type the number 555 inches, the comments. This number is not luck, it is language. It represents grace upon grace. Divine Power multiplier. Completion of cycles that once kept you bound. When you write it, you're not typing digits, you're opening a door. You're saying, "Lord, I receive this transition with trust." It's a physical act with spiritual weight. And as you do, something subtle begins to move in the atmosphere around you. You can feel the shift, peace settling, strength rising, courage returning. It's as if heaven nods in agreement, whispering, "Yes, this one is ready." And the number you type becomes a signature in the unseen realm, sealing what your spirit has already agreed to. You are declaring readiness, announcing alignment. Heaven always honors obedience, especially the quiet kind, the kind that responds without demand, that acts without proof. And so, the new season begins, not with fanfare, but with faith. You are being released into what you were once restrained from, not because the circumstances changed, but because you did. You no longer walk as the wounded, you walk as the witness. Tonight, heaven looks upon you and smiles. The potter's work is evident. The cracks have become vessels of glory. You are no longer asking, "Why me?" You are whispering, "Use me." And heaven answers, "I already am." There is a silence tonight that doesn't feel empty, it feels full. It hums with presence, with peace, with quiet power. The same voice that called you through storms now rests gently over your spirit, not demanding attention, but deepening it. You are no longer desperate to hear him. You are simply aware that he's here. The stillness feels different. Now it's not the silence of waiting, but the silence of knowing. You have crossed from survival into stability. There is a maturity in your gaze, a weight in your words, a calm that can't be shaken. You are no longer searching for signs that God is with you. Your very existence is proof. Chosen one. This is what it means to live in divine rhythm. You have stopped wrestling with what was and begun resting in what is. Heaven's peace flows through you like a river that remembers its source. The lessons, the tears, the long nights, they all carried you here. To this sacred simplicity where faith has become second nature, you start to notice something subtle but profound. Your presence changes rooms. Where you go, chaos seems to calm. Where you speak, heaviness seems to lift. You used to wonder why people confided in you, why strangers were drawn to your silence. Now you understand. Peace has a frequency, and your life broadcasts it. You are no longer just a listener of heaven, you are a transmitter. The same spirit that once spoke to you now speaks through you, and that, chosen one, is how purpose unfolds, not in one grand revelation, but in the quiet becoming of your daily life. You no longer chase destiny, you embody it. Every act of kindness, every word of truth, every moment of compassion is heaven expressing itself through human form. You realize now that holiness was never about perfection, it was about participation. Heaven is not distant, it's woven into the fabric of your choices. Each time you forgive, heaven moves. Each time you love without reason, heaven breathes. You are not waiting for a visitation anymore, you are living one. This awareness changes the way you see everything. Even pain takes on new meaning. The people who hurt you become part of the story that shaped you. The disappointments that once crushed you become pillars that hold your faith steady. Nothing is wasted. You begin to understand that redemption is not just a one-time event. It's a rhythm that plays through every chapter. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 27, verse 13. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Then, that promise no longer feels far away. It feels fulfilled. You have seen the goodness of God, not just in miracles, but in mornings, not just in breakthroughs, but in breath. You've seen it in the strength that returned after the storm, in the peace that came without explanation, in the beauty that grew from broken soil. Chosen one. You are learning that goodness is not something to wait for, it's something to recognize. It has been surrounding you all along, waiting for your eyes to open. Gratitude sharpens your vision until you start seeing divine fingerprints on everything, on the laughter of a friend, on the quiet moments between prayers. On the way, hope somehow keeps showing up. This is the holy normalcy of a healed heart. You no longer need constant signs because the sign has become your life. You no longer chase prophetic words because your walk itself is prophecy. Heaven doesn't need to shout anymore. You've learned to hear its whisper in your own heartbeat. You've come far, farther than you realize. And yet, the beauty of this journey is that there's no finish line, only deeper revelation. God is infinite. And now you understand that intimacy with Him is a never-ending discovery. The more you know Him, the more you realize how vast love truly is. There is no fear in you tonight, only quiet awe. You rest in the assurance that even if everything around you shifts, what's within you remains anchored. You are not standing on shaky ground anymore. You are rooted in the rock that never moves. The voice that once called you in trembling now calls you in tenderness. Stay close. Not because you might wander, but because closeness is no longer a command. It's your choice, your comfort, your calling. You don't need to chase the light. You have become it. There are nights when the world seems to hold its breath, when everything is so still you can almost hear the rhythm of creation. Tonight is one of those nights. You feel as though heaven itself has leaned close again. Not to teach this time, but simply to dwell. The air carries peace, and the peace feels like a person. You are aware once more that you are never alone. Chosen one. What once felt distant has become daily. The voice that you strained to hear now lives quietly inside your awareness. You no longer beg for signs or chase after moments of awe. Instead, you walk in steady communion. What began as a conversation has become companionship. You don't need miracles to believe anymore. You breathe belief. This kind of peace doesn't arrive by accident. It's the fruit of fire, endured, and silence survived. Every unanswered question that once tormented you has turned into wisdom. Every delay that once frustrated you has become a reminder that heaven moves with purpose. There is nothing wasted in your journey, not even the moments you thought were meaningless. The divine hand has traced purpose even through pain. You think back to the seasons when everything felt shattered. Now, from this side of the story, you can see how the broken pieces became windows for light to enter. Grace slipped through the cracks of your life and filled every empty place with meaning. You have not just healed, you have been remade. You are learning now that peace is not something you find, it's something you allow. The same God who sculpted galaxies also shaped your soul for stillness. Every time you release control, you make room for Him to move. You have discovered that surrender is not giving up, it's growing deeper roots in unseen soil. And the deeper your roots grow, the steadier you become. The winds still come, but they no longer uproot you. What used to break your focus now builds your faith. You don't run from storms anymore, you learn from them. You've realized that even the fiercest tempests are teachers when viewed through heaven's lens. The Spirit reminds you tonight that endurance is not just survival, it's sanctification. The seasons of struggle were never random. They were refining you for responsibility. Heaven cannot trust a heart that hasn't been tested. The pain you endured was proof that you could be trusted with power. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 61, verse 3. To bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Oh, you read those words, and for the first time, you realize they were written about people like you, those who rose from ashes carrying fire. Your story is the embodiment of that prophecy. The ashes of your old life have become the soil of your new one. The mourning that once filled your nights has turned into melody. Chosen one, you have become evidence of divine exchange. What once seemed to destroy you was actually delivering you. You are the living picture of heaven's restoration, grace upon grace, layer upon layer. The oil of joy now runs through your veins. You are clothed not in despair, but in destiny. You can feel heaven's quiet pride in you tonight. Not the pride of ego, but of completion. You have allowed the potter to shape what others abandoned. You have yielded through every stage, crushed, molded, refined, and now you stand as a vessel fit for glory. You no longer question whether you are chosen. You know. You no longer wonder if you're ready. You are. And as this truth settles deep into your heart, you feel a still joy, rising not loud or fleeting, but éternel. You sense that heaven is smiling, not because the story is over, but because you've learned how to walk through it differently. You no longer see yourself as a survivor, you are a sanctuary. The peace within you begins to glow quietly, expanding outward until it fills the room. It is the kind of light that doesn't need to prove itself, it just is. You realize now that this is what transformation looks like when heaven finishes its work. It's not loud, it's luminous. You sit in the silence that follows and whisper a small thank you, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally see that it doesn't have to be. Perfection was never the promise, presence was. And presence is exactly what fills this moment. The night does not feel like an ending anymore. It feels like eternity breathing softly beside you. Dawn stretches slowly, painting the horizon in gentle gold. The light spills across the earth as though heaven itself is exhaling after a long night. You stand in that glow, feeling it warm your face, and realize this is not the same light you used to see. This light feels personal. It feels like a reflection of everything God has restored inside you. Chosen one. It's strange how morning can feel like resurrection. The shadows that once haunted you no longer linger. They fade quietly, as if recognizing they no longer belong here. You have become a different kind of dawn, one that carries light not just for yourself, but for others still wandering in their night. You've come through silence, storms, and surrender. And now you carry something sacred, testimony. Heaven entrusts its greatest truths to those who have walked through the valley and still chosen to sing. You, dear soul, are that song. Every scar on your heart now glows like scripture written by endurance. The Spirit reminds you that light does not boast, it becomes. A candle doesn't shout to be noticed, it simply shines. That's what your journey has taught you. Every moment you choose peace over panic. Every time you choose compassion over criticism, you shine. Not loudly, not theatrically, but faithfully. This is why what we build together here matters. These messages, this sanctuary in sound and word, are not noise, they are nourishment. They reach the weary, the unseen, the ones scrolling through darkness, searching for a spark of divine reality. And each time you pause, listen, and engage, you help heaven speak louder. As the Apostle wrote to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That harvest isn't just for you, it's for those who will be fed by the fruit of your obedience. The light you carry was never meant to stay hidden. It was meant to travel, to move through your words, your actions, your choices, your sharing. The digital world is today's field, and every time you share truth, you sow seeds that heaven waters. So, when I invite you, humbly and sincerely, to like, share, subscribe, or even donate, I know that it's not for vanity, it's for visibility. Each gesture becomes a ripple that carries hope to hearts that might never have found this message otherwise. Think of it like casting light across the water. Every action sends another reflection further into the distance. When you like, you are affirming that the word has landed on good soil in your spirit. When you share, you are carrying that seed to someone else's wilderness. When you subscribe, you are saying, I want to walk with this light again. And when you give, you become a keeper of the flame, someone who ensures that this fire never goes out, that the message continues, reaching souls across every horizon. Imagine this message as a garden stretching across the digital world. Every heart that listens becomes a flower. Every share, a seed carried by wind. Every donation, a watering stream. Together, we are tending a field where faith grows wild again. You are part of this miracle. You're not just a listener, you're a co-creator of light. And that is what makes this sacred exchange so beautiful. Heaven moves through human hands. When you participate, you become part of that divine current. If this space has ever brought you peace in chaos, clarity in confusion, or comfort in loneliness, let that gratitude move you to action, not out of duty, but out of devotion. Every small gesture adds strength to this stream of faith, ensuring that those who come after you will find it still flowing, still glowing, still speaking. And even beyond that, I ask something simpler, something more human. Leave a comment below. Share what part of this journey has met you the deepest. Words heal when spoken, but they also heal when shared. Your reflection could be the key that unlocks someone else's breakthrough. You never know who might need the testimony you almost kept quiet. Because this isn't just a message, it's a movement of mercy. It's proof that light still travels faster than darkness, and love still reaches farther than despair. What we build here isn't temporary, it's eternal. So as the morning widens and the day begins to hum, let gratitude guide you. Like, share, subscribe, give, speak, but most of all, shine. Shine where you are. Shine through your story. Shine through your scars. Because heaven has not just called you chosen, it has called you luminous. And in that light, the world will see not you, but him, the one who turned your ashes into glow, your silence into song, and your pain into purpose. Evening returns once more, but this time it carries a gentleness you've never known. It's as though the whole world has softened, as if creation itself is resting with you. The wind moves slowly, almost reverently, brushing through the trees like a whispered prayer. Everything feels aligned, heaven above, earth below, and your heart steady between the two. Chosen one, this is what completion feels like. Not the end of something, but the fulfillment of what was promised. The chapters behind you were full of fire, storm, silence, and revelation. But tonight is different. Tonight, you simply are. You have entered the space beyond striving the still, sacred simplicity of being. You no longer chase what you once did. The ambitions that once drove you have quieted into contentment. You no longer hunger for recognition. You hunger for righteousness. The approval of people no longer holds weight. The presence of God has become enough. That shift quiet, unseen, profound is what heaven calls maturity. It takes years for most to reach this point. And yet, heaven has guided you here step by step. Every hardship was not just a test, but a teacher. Every loss was not a curse, but a calling deeper into truth. You see now that divine lessons rarely come wrapped in comfort, they come in contradiction. The moments that confused you the most were the ones that changed you the deepest. You've discovered that faith doesn't always roar. Sometimes it rests. It's no longer about proving your belief, but about embodying it. You've realized that the holiest kind of power is quiet, the kind that doesn't need to shout to be strong. The Spirit whispers softly tonight, you have learned to walk with me, not just to follow me. Those words settle in your spirit like the final piece of a puzzle. You've shifted from chasing encounters to carrying presence. The same God you used to search for is now the one, moving through your every breath. The sacred has become second nature. You've learned the rhythm of grace. And as you look back, you realize how the pattern was there all along, pain leading to peace, silence leading to sound, surrender leading to strength. It was never chaos, it was choreography. The divine hand was weaving meaning through every thread of your story, and what once looked tangled now forms tapestry. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 37, echo gently in your heart. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. That verse no longer feels abstract, it feels lived. You've conquered not through victory, but through vulnerability. You've won not by avoiding pain, but by allowing it to transform you. You understand now that strength isn't about being untouched, it's about being unbroken. This revelation changes everything. You walk differently now, not with the pride of self-made success, but with the quiet confidence of one who knows they are held. You no longer measure worth by outcomes, but by obedience. You are learning that heaven's reward is not recognition, but rest. And rest you discover is holy. It's not the pause between assignments. It's the proof that the work within you is complete. The same God who created worlds and then rested now calls you to do the same, to breathe, to be, to exist in divine ease. You sit by your window, watching the final colors of the sunset fade into twilight. There's a soft ache inside you, but it's not sadness, it's sacred satisfaction. You realize you've walked through every terrain a soul can travel: wilderness, waiting, warfare, wonder, and through it all, you have remained. That, in itself, is victory. There's nothing left to prove. You are enough, because He is enough in you. That realization glows like a steady ember at the center of your being. You don't need to burn wildly anymore. You only need to shine consistently. Chosen one. Heaven delights in this version of you, the one who no longer strives, the one who simply abides. You've become a living harmony between surrender and strength, humility and holiness. You no longer chase the light. You carry it calmly into every space you enter. And as the stars begin to pierce the deep blue sky, you sense their quiet agreement. The heavens, the earth, and your own soul seem to breathe the same rhythm, now a rhythm of completion, of peace, of presence. This is what it means to walk with God, not in the frenzy of fire, but in the gentleness of grace. You are no longer waiting for your story to begin. You are already living the sacred middle of it. The night has returned one last time, but it feels different. Now, holy, complete, whole. There is no tension in it. No anticipation. No ache for what comes next. It is not the stillness of waiting. It is the stillness of fulfillment. Everything that was once fragmented has come together quietly, seamlessly, as if heaven itself has drawn a gentle circle around your life and said, "It is done." And so, chosen one, you can feel the weight of those words in your bones. You are no longer walking toward revelation. You are walking within it. Every prayer, every tear, every silent surrender has led to this, not a conclusion, but a continuation wrapped in calm. You stand here now as the evidence of endurance, the embodiment of grace that refused to let go. The air feels thick with presence, as though heaven is near enough to touch. You no longer need proof. Peace itself is proof. You understand now that the greatest miracle was never the thing you asked for. It was the transformation that happened while you waited. You prayed for change around you, but God was changing something far more important. You. Your heart feels lighter. Not because everything is easy, but because you have finally learned to rest, even when it's not. You have made peace with not knowing every answer, with trusting in mystery. You have realized that faith is not certainty. It is confidence in the unseen hand that has never failed you. The Spirit moves gently within you and says, "This is what I meant when I said, 'Be still and know.'" And you finally do. You know, not with your mind, but with your spirit. You know that you were never abandoned, never overlooked, never unworthy. Every delay was deliberate, every detour divine. Heaven was never punishing you, it was positioning you. You have learned that love is not proven by protection, but by presence. God did not always remove the pain, but He never removed Himself. He stayed in the fire, in the confusion, in the silence. And now you understand that his constancy is the truest form of love there is. As was written in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 4, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Those words no longer sound distant or future to you. They are happening even now, in your heart. The mourning has turned to meaning, the pain to perspective. What once felt like endings were actually beginnings in disguise. The old order has passed, the fear, the striving, the weight, and in its place, something eternal has begun, peace that cannot be undone. You open your eyes and look at the world around you, realizing it hasn't changed, and yet everything feels new. You understand now that the kingdom of God was never far away, it was always within. Heaven was not waiting for you to arrive somewhere else, it was waiting for you to awaken here. You breathe in deeply, feeling that divine rhythm again, the steady beat of grace inside your chest. Life no longer feels like a battle to win, but a song to sing. And in that song, you hear both heaven's voice and your own, blending until they are indistinguishable. You and God are no longer separated by fear or distance. You are intertwined by love. This is what the journey was always leading to, not perfection, not power, but oneness, a returning to the beginning, where all that exists is communion. You understand now that destiny was never about doing it, was about being, and you, at last, are simply being at peace, at rest, at home, in the presence that never left. Chosen one. You are not standing at the end of your story, you are standing in its eternal flow. The conversation with heaven will not stop here, it will continue in every breath, every thought, every act of love that leaves your hands. You have become a living continuation of divine speech. The wind outside stirs softly, carrying with it a sense of eternal continuity. The stars shimmer like ancient witnesses, and for the first time, you understand that your journey is part of something far larger than your lifetime. You are not a moment in time, you are part of the melody that creation keeps singing back to its maker. And in this realization, your soul exhales. You do not need a new revelation, you are living inside one. The story that began with a whisper, "Can we talk tonight?" has unfolded into a wordless knowing. We have never stopped. Oh, you lift your gaze, and the night no longer feels like night. It feels like eternity, smiling back. You whisper softly into the silence that isn't silent anymore. "I'm here," and you sense heaven answer with gentle certainty. "So am I." Oh, the circle is complete. The conversation continues. And you, beloved, chosen one, are home, chosen one. If these words have met you somewhere deep, if they found you in silence and left you with peace, let that encounter live on. This journey was never meant to end here. It was meant to awaken something that will keep glowing within you. If this message has stirred your spirit, like it not for numbers, but as a quiet amen to what heaven has spoken into your heart. When you share, you become a bridge for someone else still wandering through the dark, helping them find the same light that found you. When you subscribe, you are saying, "Lord, keep speaking, keep reminding me who I am." End of 4. And as this sacred space continues to grow, I invite you leave a comment below. Write the line that resonated most. The moment you felt the shift, the sentence that felt like it was written just for you, your words might be the whisper that someone else needs to hear. This isn't just a message, it's a movement of hope, a gathering of hearts who have seen darkness and still choose light. Stay connected. Stay luminous. Heaven isn't done speaking, and neither are we.